Hey, welcome to the Comedy Den podcast, your backstage pass to the business of funny. Today, we have our first guest, comedian Mike Goodwin, one of my dear friends and somebody I had the pleasure and honor to work with. Today, Mike is pulling back all the curtains. We're talking about his family, raising successful kids, his time coming up through the Army and how that shaped his comedy career. You probably know Mike Goodwin from America's Got Talent. You know him from Dry Bar Comedy. You know him from Circle Television. Or maybe one of his viral videos where he's gotten over 100 million views across all the social platforms. You can watch his latest special, My Hopes and Dreams, on his YouTube channel. I'm so excited to have him today. Here we go. There's no proper way to start a podcast, so you just kind of start one.
Just start talking.
Like, it's not the Today Show. There's no grand crazy intro, but we're here with Mike Goodwin today. Mike, thanks for being our very first guest on this podcast.
Excited to be here, man.
I hope this is like the Joe Rogan days where they go back and dig these up, and it's just us on the. You ever seen those earliest ones with Joe Rogan? And it's like him on a couch with like a 3 megapixel camera.
Oh no, I got to go back and look at those. They're
out there. That's how it all started. That's how I tell people all the time when they're starting podcasts. I'm like, look, if Joe Rogan could start with just the most podunk, informal, not really try and set up possible, then anybody can do anything. So just start where you're at.
You can grow from there, right?
You can grow from there. But Mike, you just celebrated 50th birthday.
50, man.
That's crazy. Because I thought you were like in your 30s for the first year and a half of our working relationship, and either time went by real fast, or you deceived us all.
I was accelerated time, right?
What was was it all you hoped it would be, turning 50?
I don't know. I never thought about being 50. Like, I just never was that long. That like my mind never went to 50. Like, oh, I wonder how it would be.
Like, you never thought you'd make it to 50, or you just thought like you just didn't really picture the big date?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was going to get there, but it seems so far away.
Yeah, it's so what was the coolest thing? Did you get anything cool, or was it all it was cracked up to be from the gift perspective?
It was pretty cracked up what I thought it would be. I mean, y'all gave me a great gift. That was a wonderful gift. I think my wife, they went low key on me. I don't think they did. Plus, I didn't really ask for anything either. So
yeah,
they were very low key. I played it low key. Like me, I know a lot of people make a big deal out of their 50th. I'm not a big birthday guy, just in general. But people like, it's a milestone. You need to do something. And I was like, as long as I'm like breathing, man, and I'm still doing the thing. No, I'm not like upset either. Like, I think at some point people will get like a midlife crisis, or like, oh man.
You didn't buy a Corvette or anything like that?
No, I didn't do that. And I don't have the urge to do any like young man. I think I'm like nestling into my old man status. Like, yeah,
that's a good feeling though. I feel like once you get to old man status, there's just like the rules start to kind of fade away,
right?
The family expectations kind of just dissipate a little bit, and you just kind of like you can kind of just get away with a lot more. I feel like
yeah,
Mike, it's over 50.
I'm like, hey man, I'm 50. Like, I mean, I don't even know that means anything, but I just like, hey man, I'm 50, man. I don't do that. It's like, hey man, you want to go tailgate? Nah, man, I'm 50, man. I'm not.
Well, normally I would say this is where the age where you start like cringing and fearing all of the medical process that comes after turning 50. But I obviously know your bits. I know this is I learned from your bits that apparently for Black guys they start that process earlier. I didn't know that.
They get you early, man. They get you in there, man. If you're an African American guy, they say, hey, we're not waiting to 50.
We're not waiting.
Get you at 45.
We're gonna check you out sooner. Yeah, we want to get to know you soon, real well.
So yeah, I don't even have that kind of stuff, man. Like, I've already crossed the medical barriers.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're a young 50, and
whatever. That's the other thing, because I don't remember what age I felt like I was, like the age that I was at. I think I lost 2 years, because for a long time I thought I was like 35 and I was like 37.
Okay, so yeah.
I lost some time. I was like, ooh. I was telling people I was 35.
I'm 35 now, and I feel like the mid 30s are pretty pretty uniconic in every way. There's not a whole lot going on. There's just raising babies and surviving, and the years will get away from you pretty fast in your 30s.
Right. The other thing I thought about age related was like professional sports, because I remember the time when I was the age of the athletes.
Yeah.
Then I remember a time that I was like, if I was in the league, I would be like a veteran. Now I'm not even in the league. Like, it's not even like I'm the GM.
That's a shift. I remember thinking all the athletes, like I grew up like one block over from where the Cleveland Browns, their training facilities. So like we could hear the whistles blowing for, most of the fall. August was a big deal. People would walk over in droves to sit and watch and hopefully get, a Tim Couch signed glove or something. That was kind of my era. And I remember thinking these guys are just monster men, and they're huge, and they're built and athletic. And now I'm like the guy who's like rooting for Joe Flacco because I'm like, I get that guy.
Like that's your dude, because these other guys are like young dudes, man.
Yeah, he's got some grays going on. Like he has kids. Like he's probably like going to bed early. Yeah. I'm like, that's my guy. That's my guy right there. Yeah, everybody else, and it's weird because I see these guys coming out of college. I'm like, that's like a 36-year-old, and you're like, no, man, that guy's 21. I'm like, I did not look like that when I was 21.
21. I saw like a yearbook of some folks. They were in like, it was like they were in high school in the 70s. Now those folks look older, man. Those were adults.
Yeah,
those guys that like if you graduated before 85-ish, I think 89 they started looking young again, like kids.
Mm-hmm.
But that like 70, 75, 80, those were aunts and uncles in high school.
Yeah, and then there's that guy. He's just with every year of life, he becomes my all-time hero. George, what was the quarterback's name? Who played till like, what I'm talking about? He was a quarterback. He played till like well into his 50s. Like he survived Brady. I'm gonna forget his name, but he played for.
He has a huge helmet. He has like a big head.
Yeah, big old helmet. And I think he was
played for Atlanta at some point.
Yeah, I forget his name, but he was started as a quarterback, and I think he finished his career as like a punter or something like that. Like he's just out there just hauling the leg through the thing, and I'm like, that's my guy right there. Like I aspire to be that guy today, much less than like 10 years from now. What a man!
I definitely. If you hadn't said that, I would have thought about the guy, because I remember him. He has a huge head.
Huge head. Yeah, he's from he went to the University of Kentucky, I think. That's all I can remember. His name was George something, George or George something. People in the comments are screaming at us right now how stupid Jared sounds. But so Mike, I wanted something I know we want to talk about today, and that's something that I've been personally interested in, and I know very little about you. And I think your audience probably doesn't know a whole lot about is your background in the Army and your military service, and how long that was. I think you were in there 4 years. Is that right?
Well, total, I did about 12.
Okay.
Yeah, I did about 12 total. So I did, when I graduated from high school, I joined the Army, active duty, 4 years. Got out, went to college, but I still was in the reserves.
Okay.
So I was in the reserves the 4 years of college, and I was doing ROTC. So then I got commissioned. So I became an officer. And then I probably did another 6 years after that. Yeah. In the reserves.
I've always found it fascinating just because, we work with so many comedians, and we've actually worked with one other guy before who is also a veteran. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Yes.
They'll yell at me, even though I've told you behind the scenes. They'll yell at me in the comments if I don't say it right now. But sincerely, thank you. Yeah, some of our Angel on our team is also in the reserves right now, and in the Army. And I always found it funny and fascinating just because working with comics, I can't think of almost any career choice that's more different than the ideal comedian life than the U.S. military.
I think the military set me up for success in every area of my life after the military. It's like, hey man, if you can do this, you can be successful in any other endeavor that you pursue. So that's why I just feel like, that was just a time of my life where, especially those first 4 years, because I was talking to someone about being homesick, and I think the conversation might have been like, hey man, what if you didn't make it? Like, what if you were
Mhm.
dropped out of basic? And I just was like, that was never an option. Like, that was not.
Yep.
When I left to, do 4 years in the military, get the GI Bill, go to college. So I couldn't have went back home. Like, there was nothing for me to do back home. But then when I'm like in a very difficult circumstance now, I'm like, hey man, but you're not sleeping outside in a sleeping bag. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
You're right.
Let's
Yeah.
get it done.
And my brother Andrew talk about just some of those training weekends and how like just the thought of finding some soft dirt to sleep on was just like the most lovely thought in the world. And then it makes you appreciate everything back home. But obviously so many comedians, not all of them, but a lot of them, they're attracted, I think, to the lifestyle of comedy, which is you work on
Yeah,
at least in their minds are starting out, you got all your whole week to yourself, you're touring all over the weekend, you're sleeping till, staying up till 2 a.m., sleeping till 4 p.m. Like you don't really have a boss.
right.
There's nothing really to, you can quit anytime, you can start up anytime. And the military just could not be more different than that. Do you think, because I know you so much as a business guy, not just in you and your wife, and we can talk about your daughter later as well.
Right.
But a guy who has a really solid business head on your shoulders. Do you think the military, like, what role do you think that played in like that development from a discipline perspective, and just a respect for just accountability to yourself and to other people? Like, what kind of role do you think that played in that process for you?
It was 100%. Like I just recently was telling Rosalind, my wife, that the military, because a lot of times, even for her, she was like the military took this boy and made him a man, right? And that's 100% true. But then there were benefits, like the discipline part of it, to like seeing things out through difficult circumstances. But I think the other thing that I really figured out is how not to care about how I felt. I mean, I think that
Mm,
like your emotion, I don't know how much emotions drive people just in general. I can be very robotic. I can like, man, this is the worst thing ever. I'm gonna do it anyway. Like I have some type of element that I'm not drawn to the suck, but once I'm in the suck, I'm like, what you gonna do? Like I even as we're talking, when we used to have, before we got out of a formation, you had everybody in formation, they would release us, and the last thing you would say was, deal with it. Like that
yeah.
was the last thing that we said before like going off into our work day. It was like, deal with it. Like, hey man, what are you gonna like? Hey, what are you gonna do? So yeah, I think the military, especially the army, like, and I'm not one of these guys to get into arguments with people that are in different branches. I have much respect for all the branches. I just think the army's a different animal. I think Marines,
Yeah.
they are by far, the most hardcore. But then the army's, pretty close in terms of just,
Yeah. There's
especially
a
what I
grind associated with the army, I feel like.
and I was field artillery, right? So I wasn't in the office. I wasn't a meteorologist or or a weather guy or some supply clerk. Like I was in a howitzer, in a Paladin, like shooting missiles downrange,
Yep.
right? So the way that I see the world is I do have this warrior slash scholar makeup.
Yep.
Like I can be in a boardroom. I can talk about the projected numbers. I can talk about, motivating a team. Or hey man, we're leaving at 3 a.m. and you better have your stuff ready to go. Cause like we got to get it done. So it's like, I don't know, man. I think it created a soldier. And I think a soldier is somebody that regardless of the circumstances is going to find a way to get the mission accomplished. And so I think
Yeah.
that's what me is doing.
Remind me, what years did you serve then? Were you actually
So
in?
I went in. So after I went in high school, I graduated in 1993. So I went to basic training from 93 to 90. Well, I went from like July of 93 to December of 93. Then I spent a year in Korea, which I think those two things back to back, because I was field artillery, which I spent 4 years in a professional setting working around no women. So I think that does something to you also. I think it makes you some form of a caveman, right? Because it's just like, hey man, quit whining, quit complaining, shut up. Like in the language, there's nobody concerned about, oh, hey, look, we have women here. Like, watch your mouth. Like, nah,
Yeah.
women here. So you're gonna hear the most outlandish.
Yeah. There is no sugar-coated truth.
Yeah,
There's just
there's
either
no
you suck.
sensitive. Yeah, like, hey man, you could get punched in the face, like at work. Like, I don't
Yes.
know who works in an environment where you daily.
I think more people should. I think more people should work in that environment. I think it would change a lot for America, if I'm honest.
We get a lot of stuff done around
Yeah.
here.
I say that from a guy in a cozy studio at the moment, but I think there should be more environments where people can get punched in the face.
You can just, at any given moment. I mean, that's your supervisor. I remember my supervisor was like, "You want to step out in the woods?" I was like, "Whoa, buddy." Hey, man, I just said I don't think I should be pulling guard duty for 3 hours.
Yeah. There's no step. Do you want to step out in the woods? Conversations at a Cracker Barrel right now.
All
It ain't
right.
the environment. Yeah, none of that.
It's a whole different dynamic. So yeah,
so those would have been. Go ahead. So those would have been.
So I went from 93 to 97 when I was active duty.
No, that was I was eating Cheerios off the floor those years. So that was Desert Storm though, right? Like those that era.
That was right after Desert Storm. That was
so end of the early 90s. So you're coming in right off the heels of that conflict, obviously resolving.
You're probably coming back home, right? This is post Desert Storm, pre-Iraq. So Iraq is on the horizon. It's coming.
Yeah. It's the last kind of era before things wildly changed in the military.
Right. Even 9/11. So I was in the military. So that's an interesting conversation to have. I was in the pre 9/11 and post 9/11, and it was a very different tenor from society, like pre 9/11. And I have some like really interesting experiences that I wouldn't say I didn't process, but at the time it was very jarring, and I never just like spent a lot of time thinking about it. So for instance, when I was in college, I'm in ROTC. So at least once a week, you're in your uniform, you wear your uniform to class. Well, I'm a political science major. So I'm taking political science classes with guys who were protesting the Vietnam War. So here I am in my BDUs triggering my professor, unbeknownst to me. Like, I don't know why he's giving me these snarls and these strange looks and these kind of passive aggressive conversations until later I'm like, oh, this guy is an anti-war guy. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't
like legitimately like out at Kent State protesting type,
Yeah, I remember that shift in my own life because it came much later. Obviously, I was very unaware of any of the world in the 90s. But then, I remember watching the second plane hit live on TV. I was homeschooled. I was sitting in my front room, watched the second one hit, and it was a number of years later, though, as I kind of got into the workforce, where I started really encountering my first like anti-war people. And it's kind of funny how politically I feel like that's actually much more popular now than it ever was. That was very, very polarizing to take that position. It was very associated with the same people who, again, probably for you, protested the Vietnam War, kind of had that, that anti-Bush sentiment in the mid 2000s. And now everyone's kind of there to some extent. It feels like it's kind of everyone's like, hey, this is kind of crazy.
Exactly. So it was very like I can remember marching in parades pre 9/11 and like people throwing rocks. Like,
oh yeah,
we were like in Little Town, Georgia. We were like in whatever's outside of Savannah, like Waycross or something, one of those small towns. And even to the degree of, it's similar in some cases, like the locals at your university. Like, so the guys hate the guys that go to the college because they're coming and taking their girls. And that's similar to what happens in these small towns that they're military base. the soldiers come off post and they start taking your women, they start taking your girls. And now people are not excited about that. Nobody's happy. So a lot of that, like you don't really know that is a case until you're living it and experiencing it. It's just like you're in the military. Everybody loves in the uniform, unless they took his girlfriend.
Well, yeah. It makes me feel like all these old guys, who sit on the square, in this town protesting, the wars. Now it's like, man, maybe he doesn't care at all about the war. Maybe he just got his girl stolen from him back in
maybe
back in 2002. Never recovered.
About to propose.
Yeah, maybe the ring was non-refundable. It costs a lot more than the synthetic stuff.
It costs a lot of money, man.
Yeah. 3 months. I don't know about that. That's a steep price for a piece of bling that no one cares about after the proposal.
Right. So they're like, those are those type of narratives or experiences you had that were pretty interesting. Then you get post 9/11 where we love America and it's patriotic and we're like, thanks for your service, because that was, no one ever said thanks for your service before 9/11. Like,
yeah, that's wild.
People like, you going in the Army? What is wrong with you? Like, I can remember having conversations with classmates when I decided that I was going into the military because that wasn't a popular thing to do at that time.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I feel like, with my brother in the Army now, I feel we had a long conversation about this about 2 weeks ago about how it feels like there's a little bit of inching back toward at least like appreciation again for people who serve and the people who put their life at risk out there. People can kind of separate maybe a little bit better, the politics from the soldier who sacrifices so much and is away from their family constantly and is
right,
kind of put a lot of their life on hold for whatever brought them into the military, but it's still a sacrifice for them, even if they're just stationed as a reserve. It's still a commitment that is, as you can't really break out of, and it's a service to everybody.
And at the end of the day, it's a commitment that could maybe cost you your life. Like that's a very sobering thought, even if it doesn't. Like when I was at Fort Stewart, we used to carry these little like index cards in the front pocket. And the first thing, because it was like the commanders, the general of the base, he had everybody have one of these things. And his first bullet point was thank war. Like that was the first thing on the top of this card that you kept on your person, especially when you were in uniform.
Yeah.
Thank war. So it was never, and I went to Korea that was my first duty station. And I guess at the time, the commander now, or the president, whatever they call the North Korean emperor, whatever that title is, this may have been his grandfather who was in power, and Kim Il-sung. And so his wish was that when he died, that North Korea was going to go to war with South Korea. He died. I was 3 months in country. Like I literally have a Stars and Stripes. It was like the Post newspaper that says North Korea threatens war. Like we went on total alert on the base. Like I was at the PX. It was like Saturday afternoon. And like the alarm went off to like get back to your units. It was like, oh snap, it's about to go down. Like, so I've been in those moments in my life where I've been very mortal. Like, hey man, I could not make it out of this. So I think that has given me a much greater appreciation for even now doing comedy and making a living, and people saying, people recognizing me at grocery stores and gas stations and airports. I don't have this ego about it. I'm just very like, wow, man, I used to be the dude pulling guard duty at 3:00 in the morning in the barracks, right? So now I have a great kind of perspective of, my career and what is my life in general, like what I've seen over the course of the last 50 years.
That's awesome. So being a dad now, I mean, is your son, he's in high school or about to be in high school, or about what age? Yeah. So has he talked at all about any kind of desire to do the military track later in life, or do you?
I don't think so. He's not military material. I don't think he's.
Maybe it needs to be. Maybe a couple good years would
We might
change
send him
things.
to we might send him to the Citadel, but I don't know if he's ready for the big leagues.
The big
Like,
leagues.
I think he could do a military college. I don't know if he would do. I don't
Yeah.
think he would do well in the army. Maybe a different branch. I don't want to call out any particular branch.
Yeah, could be. I think
We need to check into the Space Force that we got going on out here.
it's a
He
crazy
might be
thing
a Space
too,
Force kind of guy.
being a dad now, how much that sentiment toward the military changes, at least for myself as well. Like there was this time in my 20s where I think even I was a little bit more like, let's get them, like kind of attitude about the military. And now that I'm a dad, I have like a son who's, we're in T-ball. I'm already thinking like, golly,
or even your
I hope
brother.
not.
Like you got a brother that's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, wait a minute. Like
he's gonna get him.
Yeah, selfishly, he works for my company, and I'd rather him not be gone for long. We're in a world of hurt that happens, but for him just to, a couple of years ago when it felt like everything was teetering, right? Like it was a real fear of, golly, like it never crossed my mind that my brother might be over there fighting something that I don't really give a crap about, personally. And it's just like not to sacrifice my brother for it, but it's being, it's a weird thing as you age. I feel like you just see the world differently anyways, especially when you have kids or you have, siblings or family members in that world.
I 100% agree. And I never, even like when I joined the military, I didn't think about the impact that it had on my parents. I just didn't, it didn't cross my brain that my parents were concerned. Like, hey, this guy is in basic, something could go wrong in like, I'm just like, I'm living my life.
Yeah.
I'm the one that, is getting up early, getting yelled at by drill sergeants. It just never crossed my mind that they would, were concerned and like, oh man, I hope that he's well. And
well, especially when 9/11 happened, that must have like just completely, those emotions spiked through the roof, I'm sure.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd love to talk about your family too a little bit, and kind of, I've been so impressed since I've gotten to know you years back, just seeing your family and the success y'all have had. And it's not just you. You talk about your son not being military material, but your wife is a rock star in your world of business. Your daughter is absolutely crushing it. She's off at college for the first semester here. Right. And she has her own business. She's exceeded my success by miles and miles already in life. And, we'd love to talk, just get your, I know she has her own story to share of how all that came to be, but I love from the father perspective, talk about what your daughter has accomplished and what that's like seeing your child succeed through your eyes and what she's gone through. She has something called Gabby Bows. She has a product. Yes. She has a product, and she has. Yeah, I'd love to just to hear more about that from your perspective.
So basically, the little girls, especially little black girls, they have these barrettes in their hair that they lose them a lot. They lose them a lot, and it's for generation. My mom had lost them, and she had them. Her grandmother had them, and she lost them. My wife had them, and she lost them. So this has just been an age-old problem. And so when my daughter was of age and she was getting her hair done all nice and pretty, and she would go to school and come back with like half of barrettes, like my wife was very frustrated about this, like to like a level of like concern. Like, I spent all this time preparing, getting her hair, and she comes back and she looks like she doesn't have a family. This is like
just a mess.
It's just a homeless child, right? And I guess the conversation that she would have with my daughter about, hey, what are you doing? Like, you can't keep losing your barrettes. And then what really sparked the idea, she went on Twitter at the time, which is now something different. Back in the day, it was Twitter. Get on Twitter, and she was just venting. And my pastor saw it, and he basically was just, I think he replied, looks like a market that you need to break into, right? Very innocuous comment. It wasn't anything that meant, didn't really cause her to really think about it. But after a few days, she was like, well, maybe that, let me think about that. And I guess as she was kind of, talking to Gabrielle about it, she was like, we need to create a hair barrette And Gabrielle was like, well, let's do it. Like, and at the time,
how old was she at this
she's
time?
7. Like, she's 7. So, and like, she is actively, once she heard it, she was actively like, so when are we going to do it? Like, what's going to happen? Are we going to have it in stores? And she had that kind of energy for a little, a few weeks. And my wife was like, well, let's do something. Let's like try to put together like a project. We'll make it like a project, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she was like, okay, well, we need to look at the barrettes that are here that, that aren't successful. So they started evaluating like what doesn't work about the barrette. Well, the issue was it just had one clasp. It just it had one clasp. You wrap the hair, you close it, and then that's all the protection that you have. Well, they thought, hey, what if we could have it snap on both sides? And the other thing, it wasn't very pretty because it had like the design, like a little bowl or a butterfly or whatever on one side, and then the other side it was like this piece of plastic that just clipped in the back.
Mm-hmm.
So their idea was like, well, why don't we create something that has the design on both sides, so when your hair moves, you still see the design, and then that gives it extra security if you can clasp it on both ends. And so they were off and running, right? And they just kind of had this idea. There was a guy at our church that could draw really well. So the actual like first part of it, it was going to be like 2 different pieces. Like you're going to put it together and put this piece. But some type of way, somebody put my wife in touch with an engineer that was like, hey man, I heard you were, talking about creating this product. I know this engineering firm in Charlotte that's looking for like some new projects. Why don't you reach out to them?
Huh.
And she reached out to the guys and they were like, yeah, that sounds interesting. I don't know if the guy just didn't have anything going on. I don't know. It just, things kind of fell in place. And then when he looked at it, he said, well, this doesn't need to be 2 pieces. We can extend the piece in the middle and we can make it 1 piece. And you could just wrap the hair around that center thing in the middle and then snap it. And so they did that. Like they created like a prototype.
Yeah.
And so at that point, my wife was like, this is really cool. I've shown my daughter kind of what can happen when you put your mind to accomplishing something. And her thought was like, hey, we could sell it to like someone else and they can manufacture it. And then they can, we can just get some residual income and life is good. Well, they did like a focus group with it and the company kind of passed on it. And I think while this was going on, someone was like, well, I need that barrette. We could why don't you just sell them?
Yeah.
And so my wife was like, okay, let's put in an order for like 100. She put in 100 order, 100, and then they sold. And it was like, now she has a website and now she has a business. So it was like each step required
fast
more.
though.
Yeah. Each step required more, and then we were able to see my daughter like grow and flourish from like being a shy person that didn't want to have conversations with people to someone who was pitching her product at the vendor shows and looking forward to it. Oftentimes, when she was much younger, people would wonder, was this like a Joe Jackson type situation? Was this the Jackson 5? Like you get out there and sing, but it really wasn't.
Gabby was driving a lot of this.
She wanted to be, yes, she was very excited about it. And we were already also communicating that if this is something that you don't want to do, you let us know. And we don't have to continue doing this. And she was like, no, I like doing this. And I mean, she really was bought in and excited about, she could see the impact that was making. Then she also saw the influence that it gave her to be able to do other things. Because one of the coolest things that she did when I don't remember her, she might have been 13 or 12, but they created this thing called a Gabby Play Date. And it basically was, she created a day where she could play with little girls that other people didn't want to play with. And so what happened was like kids that were at foster homes, kids that were in these kind of transitional situations. We did like an event at one of the facilities We gave away barrettes. We had like a pizza party, but it was like she always had a heart for like the underdog or the kid
That's
that
incredible.
wasn't popular. So like she began to see how she could influence other people for good. And even to this day now, like she's really community minded. She's a person that looks out for others and wants to be an advocate for folks that don't have a voice or for folks that may not be often heard. And so, yeah, man, like to watch this happen, she took a lot of lumps too, man. I think that one of the best things and the worst things for her was to be able to be confronted with rejection at an early age and absorb it. Like because I mean, one of the first times that that happened, she was devastated. Like she pitched for this big competition and they did not get it, and she was just inconsolable. And I remember they called me, my wife and my daughter called me, and I told her this. I don't remember saying she brought this up recently in a speech she was sharing, but she was crying and she was very disappointing. And I told her that tears were the nutrients of dreams, and like she remembered that much like sunlight is for plants, right? I told her that tears were the nutrients of dreams, and she took that to heart. Like, okay. And then one of the things she came up with, no was just not no, it meant next opportunity. And so now here's a young child that has heard no, that's been devastated by it, but has figured out how to be resilient. And something recently just happened when she's a student, a first year student at Vanderbilt, right? And she's done very well academically. He's on a full ride. And I think she went to college kind of thinking it was a little bit like high school. And she loves to dance, and she went out for this dance troupe and she did not make it. And I was so glad, like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Because as a dad, you're like, that's how the world works.
Yeah.
How do you deal with a disappointment and keep moving? Like, you're still at Vanderbilt, you're still, you're still there for an academic experience, something that you wanted to do that I don't know if it would have been the right thing to do. Now you practicing choreography, you got work to do. Like, you got classes to go, like, come on, man. So I didn't tell her, like, maybe she'll listen to the podcast and figure out that I was very excited about her not making the dance team, because it's not the wins, right? As a business owner, it's not the wins that you are judged by, it's how you respond to the losses.
Exactly. That's incredible. And now, I mean, her products are sold, just to kind of recap kind of where that ended up going. I mean, they're
everywhere.
They're
We just did a deal with
Walmart.
Claire's, like 600 stores. Yeah, that Target online, Walmart online, Amazon. They're in Once Upon a Child was, you can get them there. Yeah. They had,
it's incredible.
I don't know, 50 states. I don't even know how many countries. I mean, just, she was a 6-figure entrepreneur by the 6th grade. So that's kind of like
that's incredible.
so stuff that she had going on.
What anybody watching is going to be wondering is, how do I get a kid like Mike Goodwin raised? Because today's generation ain't cutting it. I'll give you an example from my own life. I remember for me, I mean, I got a paper route when I started doing when I was, barely old enough to wake. I mean, we were waking up at 5:30 once a week on a Thursday and rolling papers in Ohio. I mean, it was freaking cold and dark. It sucked. You had to go and collect, and you get down, for a month, you'd be like, I think this paper company's ripping us off. There's no money in this at all. We made no money. By the time you realize it's all tip based, no one ever tips. Horrible.
No one tips.
Day I turned, even before that, I had a lawn mowing company. I like made up some flyers with my dad, a clip art on Word or whatever it was. And the door, I had a few clients. I made like $400 that summer. I had like 4 clients every week. I went and mowed the grass. I was like, when I was like I think I was like 10 or 11, and then I had paper out. And then day I turned 16, I got an application for the movie theater. Our movie theater, cinema was my first job. I feel like there's been a shift, and maybe I don't know if I'm old enough now with 3 kids to know that some kids are just motivated that way and some kids aren't, and some kids are just different.
Yeah.
But, to you, what is it that makes, and how can as a dad can you encourage that sort of work ethic in your kid to like reach for those kind of things and to be excited to earn, not just sit around and wait for handouts from their parents to
Right.
spend for spending money. But like, I remember I had to like earn my own gas money and earn my own, like,
Yeah.
to go to the theater. I want to buy some snacks. I remember going to the pool as a kid and be like, okay, I have no money. I got no money. I'm 12. I have to dig through couch cushions for quarters, back when
Looking for money.
yeah, I'm looking for money. But like, I'd love to hear your perspective on that. Cause you have 2 kids. I don't know how different they are in that kind of, entrepreneurial sense, but like what that is like seeing your daughter reach for something that so many kids just don't seem that interested in today.
Yeah, I think that what we've learned and what I think I think it's true through all the generations is you foster the love within the child that they have. I think what
Mm.
happens as parents, we want to foster the love of something that we have. I can see it with my daughter. Like, man, I could have, maybe if my daughter was a son, I may have had her in sports. But since
Mhm.
she was a girl, I wasn't really like, okay, we got to get you into sports or we got to get you to play basketball. And my daughter's a very athletically built person. So I'm like, she could have easily been playing sports, but that wouldn't have been her love. She just would have
Mhm.
been in sports because we signed her up for sports and we had her in sports. Now she was in dance and we allowed her to dance. And then when she got to about the 6th grade, she realized that the commitment that it took to be the type of dancer that she wanted to be, it just wasn't there. Like she
Mhm.
liked to dance, but she didn't like to be at practice 5 days a week. So when you went from like recital dance, where it's like once a week, to the next level where you're doing 4 to 5 days a
Yeah.
week, she was like, I like it, but I don't like it that much. So I think that's the first place, like kind of really give your children a lot of exposure to what potentially could be something that they like. I think often
Mhm.
as parents, we either move them in the direction of something that we enjoy. Like that's what happened with my son. He was a little guy, so I was like, okay, we put him in like flag football initially, but that wasn't the way. And then basketball, I love basketball, so I'm like, let's put him into basketball. And he was saying the things like, I want to be a good basketball player, I want to play, but he just wasn't going outside and dribbling the ball like when I
Yeah.
did when I was a kid. What he would do was get on his tablet, make videos, edit videos, do graphics. And so
Mhm.
instead of continue to push the basketball agenda, we was like, okay, let's get this guy a camera. He wants to take pictures. He wants to edit video. So we started fostering that love that he already has. Like my son edits video. I don't have to say, hey man, did you edit any videos today? Like he's taking NBA clips, NFL clips, college clips. He asked me the other day about like going to some high school football games just to get footage so that he
Wow.
could edit video. So I think that that's the first place to start. Like really allow your children to communicate to you what they love. Again, I could have kept having him in basketball, and I mean, because I did some of that. Like I got him on the AAU team, and my son was more happy being on the bench than in the game. I used to be like, dude, what are you doing? Like we're driving 2 or 3 hours, staying in
Yeah,
hotels,
to socialize on the aluminum seats.
just to
Yeah.
for him to like be the guy. Like, man, I got the best seat in the house. Like, I'm like, dude, you don't want to play? And he like, I'm good. I'm like, nah, bro, that's not.
That ain't it.
That's
Yeah,
not
that's a
it,
lot of
man.
gas.
We can stay at home for that, right? So I think that's the first place, like to really give your children. Because one thing that, I think often times happen, parents will say, well, they're just not interested, and they've not given them enough to experience. Like
Yeah.
if, if they're throwing balls around the house, hey, let's get them into tennis, let's get them into softball. Let's figure out what are they naturally, what's their natural inclination, and then foster that. I feel like that didn't happen for me. I mean, this comedic thing that I've always had it. So I
Mhm.
often think, man, what if my parents would have put me in a performing arts school or put me in some acting classes or put me in an environment where my natural talent would flourish and come forward, I think I would have been a little further along. I've done well. Like
Yeah.
I'm very excited about my career, and I think the best is yet to come. But I think that they didn't nurture the seed that was already on the inside of me. And I think that's the advice I would do. Really, really figure out what is it that your children are naturally excited about and passionate about, and then just let them have at it. Like especially while the stakes are low.
Yeah.
You lose a couple of $1,000, not thousand, but a couple $100 of like a summer experience or camp or something like that. That's not the end of the world. But if you send them to and I saw this also. This was another thing that made me think about that. When I worked before I started doing stand-up full time, I was the college counselor at this private school, and the parents would be telling students like, "Hey, you're gonna major in X." Like the number of students that were gonna go into medical school because their parents said they were going to medical school was incredible, and the kid wanted to be a musician. Like it is like, but you can't make money being a musician. And I remember sitting in one of those meetings, and people were often telling their kids like, you need to have a backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, not if your plan to succeed is very good. You like, I don't have a backup plan. Like your plan needs to be so good that you don't need a B plan, right? And I think we set kids up a lot of the times telling them they need a backup plan. You need a plan B. Nah, let's make sure that your plan A is bulletproof.
Yeah.
And let's go from there, right? Like
I love that. We're at a phase with our parenting. I mean, so we have a 6, 4, and 2-year-old and one on the way. And we're trying to kind of learn the ideas of just letting them feel satisfied by their own accomplishments a little bit more, and satisfied by, like for instance, we're starting like, okay, it's time for chores. It's time for chores, and it's time for, allowances. Maybe like, hey, you want a nice birthday present for your friend? Like we're gonna buy it anyways. But how do we help you earn that money so that it feels like something that you went and did and got to participate in, and that it's going to mean more to you as a kid who got to spend their own money on something. And when you're not cleaning up a room, like maybe that starts costing you dollars too. Take it back and give it back when you earn it. Like
you need to have some skin in the game, right?
Some skin in the game. And I feel like that's something where, and I don't know if it's just a generational thing today that kids just don't necessarily reach for that, like aren't enticed by that satisfaction. Like another example we had recently was I bought a bunch of pine straw for our yard. Our whole front yard is just pine straw. It's too shady. It's too, in Georgia here, it's just, too much woods in some places to even grow grass. It's too much shade. Right. So pine straw, I had 30 bales, not much. And I reached out the thumbtack. I'm like, yeah, I was gone for a weekend for work. And I was like, I need that thing spread. Like, I don't want to be that guy in the neighborhood. We already had a pile of mulch. So I did that, sat for like a better part of a year. I'm like, I can't be that guy. And so I got back from some thumbtack, one offer, and it came back through a text, and some guy for 30 bales of pine straw, just spread it out. Like, it's like my 5-year-old could do it if I, really drove him hard. If I drove him hard. The guy came back with an offer for $2,500, and I just responded LOL and never got to it. So like, I'm like, okay, let me go to the neighborhood kids and see what happens, because there's got to be some neighborhood kids going to work for $25 an hour, get this done. No one would show up to do it. I'm like, that is crazy. I would have been like, if I love our neighborhood kids, but like if you're watching, I love you. But, it was all those things. I remember as a kid, if a next door neighbor, I could walk 3 feet in the nicer part of the summer, make $25 an hour, spreading some pine straw, like I would have been there in a heartbeat, like knocking that thing out. But I think like, I don't know if they're just like given too much too early, or just not necessarily they don't know to feel the satisfaction of having earned something that feels more special to them. And I feel like we're kind of like depriving them of something.
And they're super comfortable. Like, right. If you're like, okay, I can go next door, make $25 an hour, or I could stay in the house and play my video game, and nobody's going to require me to say, hey man, 3 days a week, you got to put the video game down. Like you have to get out of the house. Like, I mean, it's crazy to me that I'm asking my kids, like, have you gotten out of the house today? Like, and for us, we could not play if we didn't get out of the house. These kids, they can go on.
There's so much to do inside.
They can go online. They can play online with people in other places that aren't at that. Like, we had to literally go to Robbie's house so that there was be a bunch of kids playing. Like you knew where the kids were all the bikes were laying out in the yard.
Yeah,
Like,
so true. That was my
those are the
generation
kids.
too. Yeah, yeah. It was knock knock. Can Jared come out and play? Yeah, the 3 bikes bent over. Like no one ever used a
Now
kickstand. Never
you
once.
FaceTime your buddy. I mean, they walk around on FaceTime, not even having conversations. So I think it's important for us to not be frustrated, right? Like to say the dynamics have changed. They're not gonna just automatically do these things. So we have to implement some traditions and some practices that, hey man, you got, I took my daughter to the gym before she went to college. It was like, hey, let me show you how this works. You can have a push day, you can have a pull day, you can have a leg day, you can have a body day, like whatever you choose, just create a system for yourself. These are the machines. And now I talked to her the other day. She was like, yeah, I went to the gym today. And I was like, okay, great. Like that's a lifelong lesson that she can carry on with her and develop. But I think that for us, we're busy, man. So if your kid's in the house being quiet on the game, you're like, I can get a couple of things done versus I got to go outside and play basketball with my son if he's outside, right? So it's like, dang.
Well, that goes right into my next question about just your work-life balance personally. I mean, comedy is a weekend business. You travel a lot for work. You're gone, a lot. It's kind of like a pilot schedule in some sense. Like when you're home, you're home, but when you're gone, you're really gone.
Right.
How have you balanced that to be an active and intentional dad when you're there with the schedule that often takes you away? Like, have you struggled with that through the years?
Yeah, I don't know if I struggled. I think that what I have learned, because by the time I started doing stand-up, my daughter, so I'm 28 when I started. My daughter probably was about 4 or 5. I had a show on the day my son was born. Like there's a picture of me holding him. I got on like my bow tie and my stuff because I'm gonna like leave and go do the show and come back. So one thing that I've done that, like you said, when I'm home, I'm home. We do family trips, like we go places, and my wife has been adamant about, hey, we gonna spend time together on a family trip. One of the things we do separate from our family, we do a week long in the summertime with my wife's extended family. So her mother, father, her brothers and her sisters, all, we get like an Airbnb, and for a week we go somewhere, Hilton Head, Merrill's Inlet, somewhere in South Carolina, and just kind of hang out for a week. And I'm very intentional about like the things that I do when I'm home. Like I got to get stuff done. Like I got to take my son to get a haircut. Like I do all like the guys things with him. Like, hey man, we got to go get a haircut. Oh, we got to go get the oil change. You need to come with me to do these types of things. So I try to take him on not just, spending time, but showing him that, hey man, this is what a man does. This is how a man operates. This is, dad's just not over here writing jokes all day. Like I gotta go and cut grass, and we gotta, we gotta do some things to keep the house moving forward. One thing that we do as a big family, we love to watch sports together. So we like this weekend, oh man, all these football games is gonna be on. Me and my son, because I think my wife's going back to her mom's house to help. They're doing like a big cleanup. So we're gonna get, some popcorn, some snacks, and man, we just gonna watch football, and we're gonna talk trash. We're gonna, I'm like, what you think? Who gonna win? What's your thoughts? Like, who's gonna be, who's gonna be the surprise team? What's the finals? We always talking about who do you think gonna win the finals? So we're constantly spending time together. And then this year we'll probably go to a couple of games because we live here in Columbia, so we're big University South Carolina fans. And our church, man, we do a lot of things connected with our church. Our kids are very involved with our youth ministry. And so we're just very present. I'm very present when I'm there. When I'm not there, I'm checking in. Hey, how's it going? What's going on? They have access to me at all times. And so just making sure that I'm very deliberate about the time that I'm with them and what am I teaching them. I'm often thinking about, I want to teach you this before you go. Like I
Yeah.
need to talk to you more about. So I'm a very, like, I think my if you talk to my kids, they be like, my dad's always lecturing us.
My dad's always up my butt. Yeah.
My dad's always like, you could be a simple, like I was talking to my son the other day. This is a great example of like, when he came to me, because my brother-in-law is a coach at a football team, but they live in Charlotte, right? And it's like maybe 2 hours away. So my son's like, "Hey, Dad, I want to record some of Uncle Dave's football teams." And so he told me that before he went to school. And then I spent the whole day like, dude, it's like 12 teams in Columbia that you can record, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm going through the process of like, okay, son, remember what you told me this morning? Let's take 2 steps back, because this summer, like my son, he was in the 10th grade. So I've allowed summertime. This will probably be his last summer where it's just like, ooh, it's summertime. I'm kicking it. I'm cool. Like next summer was like, hey man, you need to get a job. You need to volunteer somewhere. But we really let him have that summer. We let him just, if you want to play the games, you keep your room clean. You take out the trash. You watch, you have your chores. But we're going to give you a little bit more, latitude, right? So I told him like, hey man, this should have been something that you were thinking about this summer, because you're like, oh, I know football season's coming up. Hey, I probably could go to some of these coaches in the summertime because they have more time. They're not thinking about the season. That is not a priority. Trying to win games is not a priority in summertime. So if you would have reached out, let's say you emailed 12 of these coaches, because it's about 12, at least 12 high schools in our area. Let's say you get 4 emails back and 3 of the 4 like, yeah, sure, come out and record. And then let's say one of them might have said, hey man, we're doing a summer camp. Why don't you come and get some footage of the summer camp? So like, let's start thinking like that. Those are the things I want you to problem solve. I don't want you just to say, hey Dad, I want to help. Because I said, okay, I said, how are you going to get to Rock Hill where your Uncle Dave coaches? Somebody's going to take me. Somebody's going to drive me. Right. Like, you're making plans for people that already have plans. Like, dude.
Yeah. It's a process to teach your kids how to think long term and say, hey, if you want this, you can't think about that the day you want it. You have to plan and make steps to get to what you want, and we can incrementally get there over time, and kind of back build that from where you want to be accomplishing that. Kind of, okay, what steps on the way there? And I think that's something that I think my dad and both my parents did a great job of kind of teaching me. But I don't think I realized I was ever being taught those kind of things.
What was happening? Right.
Yeah.
They were doing it and you didn't know it was happening.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm wanting to communicate that, hey man, this is how you problem solve. This is how you come up with an answer. This is how you add value. Like, because then I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to record? Then I look at his footage and I'm like, you have too many filters. You have too many cuts. Let's go to NFL films. Let's look at what their films. Let's go to ESPN. Let's go. This is what people want. So yeah, I know you got these nice tricks and these edits, and that's cool. But if you're going to be able to make money and monetize this, tell an athlete, hey, let me record your footage so that you can have something to give the coaches. And here's my portfolio.
Yeah,
I charge $150 for a reel or whatever the case may be, right? Like, that's what I'm trying to communicate. And that's what I spend a lot of time doing those things. My idea is I want my children to be loved. I want my children to have godly principles and faith, but I also want my children to have the tools to be successful adults. It's like, hey man, as morbid as it is, I'm not going to be here for the duration of your. Hopefully, I hope that I don't outlive you. And when I'm not here, I hope to have equipped you with what you need, or as much as what you need to be successful in life.
I love that. And I think with artistically minded children, I think there's a whole nother conversation there that's not as natural to them because they want to kind of preserve the art. And this as a comic, like there's a certain amount of like taking the artistic side of you, but then also finding the right market for that art, and you have to kind of compromise. There's some compromise in adapting art for a market. If that's what you want to do, if monetizing in a way is your goal, there's some sacrifice that comes along the way of like adapting your art for to serve a purpose and to hopefully monetize it
right
some way.
And,
it's hard to the artist.
I'm not a starving artist. Like I have no desire to be a starving artist. That's never been.
It's romantic in movies, and that's about it.
I don't want it. But one of the things I most recently came up to in terms of like reading and my attitude around leadership is that leadership is sacrifice. And because if you're going to lead, you're giving up something. Like for me to lead my family, I have to give up the bachelor life or doing what I want to do. Or let's say I want to go hang out at the bar from 5:30 to 8 o'clock every day. Well, I got to give that up because I have to be a leader. I have to go lead my family. I have to be a person that is helping people move to the next stage. So leadership is sacrifice. And I think we spend a lot of time trying to make things look so cool and like attractive. And it's like, nah, man, that's the same thing I say about comedy. When somebody says they want to do comedy, I'm like, well, go and bomb and then come tell me.
Yeah. Feel that suck first and see if you're ready to work through that.
That's when you want to do. I don't want to do comedy more when I'm knocking it out of the park. I want to do comedy more when I just had a bad set and I'm like, I got to figure this out. I can't do this again. I want to get on stage if I do bad, I want to get back on stage. If I do well, I'm like, man, I'm gonna take a week off. I'm gonna go kick up.
Yeah.
Lemonade. I'm the next.
It's the suck that
comedy genius of the world, right? Like a high fiving everybody. But if I bomb that night, I'm like, I'm in my notebook in the car, like,
grinding.
What did I? Oh man, I was bad.
I've talked a bunch to people in our company, other people having trained jiu-jitsu for a few years now, and the parallels between that is like, hey, anybody can feel great when you're tapping out white belts, but like that when you're getting smushed by the 250 black belt, do you still really want to do jiu-jitsu?
Like, you want to get back in that
ring? Really want
man?
to? Yeah, that sucks. That's humiliating. Or even sometimes just the people who are, just because you're supposed to get smashed by those guys, but like the guy, the other belt, same as you, that's just a little bit better, and you feel like, golly, I can never quite get this guy. And it's painful and it's a grind. You're like, I'm never gonna get better. This is just sucky. But those are the points where like, yeah, do you want to? Can you push through those moments? That's when you know if you like it or not.
And similar to parenting, my father raised a mean man. I want to raise a tough man.
Yeah.
And I think there's difference in that, right? I want my son to be able to meet the moment. I want my son to be a man that stands up for what he believes in. I want him to be a man of compassion and empathy. So there's a great difference between I'm tough, but I was designed to be mean, and mean people are petty. Mean people are vindictive. Mean people are selfish, right? And so I don't want that for my son. I want my son to be a tough guy. I want him to be able to deal with adversity and still have heart, still have compassion, still have a great perspective and attitude. So I really spend a lot of time like evaluating what how I dealt with, my childhood and even, coaching and teaching my children as they deal with theirs.
Well, we only got through about half my questions because the next time I need to have you back. I can talk for hours because I had all kinds of questions we want to get into about your childhood personally, and because I know you have just incredible stories about, with your dad. I mean, you're on the Big Dad Energy tour. I know your own relationship with your father, who, with your lone late father, influenced so much of how not only you as a father now, but even your comedy and your tour and so much more. So I want to talk about the next time. I want to talk about and just even more comedy next time. How you fell into this world, how you fell into clean comedy, how you've become just one of the rising voices in that space. And
I feel like we should be funnier next time. I feel like this is very serious.
I love this though. I love this. I think people like this stuff. People like to hear kind of about these personal stories. Because I mean, what's something so amazing about you is you do have all this depth even in your comedy. People go see your shows and realize like this isn't just like surface levels. This comes from some real life behind these jokes, and
Right.
some real grinding behind these things. And you motivational speak, your TEDx, you're all over the place. Last, I'll throw you one wild card question, just to end on this. So, what is the weirdest, craziest gig you ever had as comic? Because I know you've had some weird ones. What's the weirdest one? How'd you get through it?
So there's been a lot, but the one that comes to mind is this thing that they call the fifth quarter, if I'm not mistaken, right? The fifth quarter. I don't know if they did this where you were growing up. Basically, a church would throw a function for youth after the football game. So they would call it the fifth quarter. They have kids in their like youth facility, like their whatever, the family life center, whatever. But it's everything in there, man. They got like pinball machines, they got ping pong tables, laser tag. It's a bunch of stuff going on. Well, somebody thought it would have been a good idea to have a comedy show in the midst of this. It's all number one.
Yeah.
It's already about 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. So it's like, hey man, let these kids have their fun and go home, right? So it's high school kids that could, and then they're not here for that. They're here for the party, the stuff. They're at this church, they're playing the games. And so at the time, there's another comedian by the name of Marty Simpson and another buddy of mine that lives in Columbia named Corey Johnson. So me and Corey Johnson are black dudes. Marty's a white dude. So Marty, this is Marty's idea. This is Marty. Somebody reached out to Marty. And he was like, yeah, man, I got two buddies. We can come over. And Marty called this the cookie and cream dream team. Like, so he's had the idea of me and Corey being like an Oreo. and he's the cream that's in the middle. When I heard that idea, I should have said, nah, man, I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in this at all, man. I'm going to let y'all just be the cookie and cream dream team, right? So Marty is selling this thing, man. It's gonna be great. Oh, it's gonna be, man, they're gonna have these kids. So, man, we get to this place. There's no stage. There's like 5 chairs in the front. It's a microphone. And it's like in a corner, man. And they got all these festivities going on. They got DJ in the booth in the corner. Like, it's just like raucous. And then we get there and they're like, all right, we're going to let them do this for like another 15 minutes. And then we're going to bring everybody together and y'all can't do y'all comedy show. And it was trash. I mean, it was terrible. Like, I think I turned my brain off. I just think I was like, man, just get through this, man. Cause it was like, there was no seats. There was a few seats in the front.
Yeah.
The kids did not come. They were not interested.
Could not care
and
less.
I don't have comedy for children. So I'm not talking to these kids. I'm not saying anything of
you got like your like colonoscopy jokes. Just
man. I'm talking about. I'm talking about my wife and my daughters. They don't want to take out the tray. My son don't want to wash. Like these kids
they're like, I like the son in the story. I'm that guy in the story. I don't relate to this. That's not funny. Who wants to take out the trash?
I'm a stinking dude.
This guy's so bossy.
So I'm like, get me out of here. So
you just sound like all of their angry dads in real life, just like griping about their lack of chores and cleanliness
at the fifth quarter, where they should have been like, this is where we have fun. What are you doing here, old man? And I wasn't even 50 then. I was like a smooth 33 or something, man.
Yeah.
Like, get all these young, y'all box, y'all sock you one in the mouth, young man. You know, I'm up there with that type of energy. Oh, it was terrible. It was absolutely, it was easily in my top 5 worst events. I don't know if it's one, but it's easily in the top 5.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you coming on. Help us break the ice with our first Comedy Den podcast. Almost forgot the name of it already. It's going that well, but appreciate you.
One for the archives, man.
One for the archives. Love it. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can get notified as soon as we drop a new episode. Let us know below. Who do you want to hear from? Who should we interview next? We want to know about that. We can go get them. And we'll see you next time.